In this video, we are going to be discussing an example of a mech which at its introduction was considered a substandard machine, but with the progress of new models and variants, became one of the deadliest war machines ever produced by the Inner Sphere. Originally built in the Terran hegemony, it would become the herald of House Steiner. Today, we're going to be talking about Star League Weapons Research's Banshee. An assault mech weighing in at 95 tons, the Banshee was an enormous behemoth in size and weight during its introduction in 2475. Unfortunately though, its weight, despite being one of the most sophisticated and largest battle mechs of its era, was not an indicator of how popular or effective it was. The BNC series upon its debut had a poor reception and quickly earned a poor reputation. 5,000 Banshees would be built from the start of its production run all the way through to the end of the Ameris Civil War, which was where production was halted. Considered inadequate against most forces and even considered a liability by multiple Mechwarriors and commanders, a full one-third of the original 5,000 Banshees would survive into the end of the Third Succession War, not surviving due to their combat capabilities directly, but due to their low threat rating and lack of use as frontline units. Though the unit looked impressive, and even possessed a skull-like face to intimidate its adversaries, it never got off the ground due to its poor performance. Relegated to the role of a second-line unit by the Third Succession War, it seemed like the entire series would vanish with time, until Defiance Industries would step in after the end of the Third Succession War in 3026, and a true monster was born in the industrial juggernaut known as the Lyran Commonwealth. The production model of the Banshee under the original SLWR was the BNC-3E. The most expensive and heaviest aspect of this battle mech is its enormous GM380 standard engine, which weighs in at a shocking 41 tons. This engine gives the BNC-3E the ability to move up to 64 kilometers per hour even as a 95-ton assault mech, granting it 6 movement points in the tabletop game as well. This is, in theory, great. It can move with strategic forces at the average speed of heavy and medium mechs, meant for battle line combat. The problem is, this is such an enormous expenditure of weight that it forces the Banshee to make a series of unfortunate and crippling compromises. For heatsinks, the Banshee has an overinflated 16 standard heatsinks, which is at least 2 or 3 more than it needs to run cool and fire its dismal primary weapon systems. The greatest failure of the BNC-3E, and one which can never truly be escaped, is its complete lack of acceptable weapons. For a 95-ton assault mech, it comes with a Magna Hellstar PPC, and an Imperator A autocannon, the latter being classified as an AC-5. Beyond this, its final backup weapon, installed in its head, is a single Magna Mark I light laser. To describe the firepower as being unacceptable for a mech of this weight class would be a staggering underappreciation of this mech's failure. It is outgunned by every other assault mech from its era, barring the Charger, which is a dubious peer to have in this respect. While its PPC can offer a reasonable punch, unlike the Battlemaster, it has no follow-up to its weapons for close range, despite weighing 10 tons more. For armored protection, the Banshee is served well, but has little ability to exploit this advantage. It comes with 15 tons of standard armor. To quote the original technical readout, critics were quick to point out, however, that the better-armed Marauder or Warhammer could blast away the Banshee, which only had its 1 PPC and a pop gun autocannon for reply. What good was the heavy armor? In actual combat, Even the rifleman was able to overcome the Banshee, as the latter could rarely get close enough to bring into play its superior mass. Technical Readout 3025, Original, 1986. Page 120. This describes a significant portion of what is deeply wrong with the BNC-3E. The best it can hope for is getting in close for melee and attempting to beat its opponent into scrap. And though this may be viable when terrain permits it, it is deeply circumstantial if it can be successful. But the Banshee would see a rebirth. Though there were variants that had worked around the margins trying to improve the BNC series during the earlier Succession Wars and the Star League, like the BNC-3M refit, it would experience a true rebirth with Defiance Industries' new production model of the venerable design. The monster known as the BNC-3S would begin construction in 3026, 1 year after the end of the Third Succession War, and would see combat for the first time in the Fourth Succession War in a meaningful scale. It would downgrade the engine from the oversized GM380 to a much more manageable Pitman 285 standard engine, reducing its speed to 54 kilometers per hour, but freeing up an immense 24.5 tons of weight. This weight would be well spent, taking the BNC from one of the least armed machines in Battletech into a weapon of war which would give an Atlas pause before engaging it. It would add a second PPC, 4 medium lasers, all forward-facing, as well as an SRM-6 to the design. In addition, it would then go on to replace its AC-5 autocannon with an AC-10 autocannon, and add 2 full tons of ammunition. To manage all of these weapon systems, it would also increase its heatsink's total capacity to 21, giving it a massive versatility of firepower and heat management options when choosing what weapons to engage with. Many would argue the BNC-3S is in fact the greatest pure fighting assault mech of the Fourth Succession War. Needless to say, it was the beginning of a true monster. Modifications wouldn't end there. With the clan invasion, the primary model with Star League-era technology would be the successor to the BNC-3S, namely the BNC-5S. It would retain the same armor, though it would install an XL engine, the 380 XL, all while giving the machine double heatsinks and increasing its heat-sinking capacity to 28 overall. The next greatest change would come with upgrading the standard PPCs to ER PPCs, before replacing the AC-10 autocannon with one of the greatest weapons of its generation, the Gauss rifle. Restoring its speed and increasing its firepower, the BNC-5S is one of the few inner sphere mechs, barring its durability issues born of its XL engine, that could square off against superior clan machines of its time and fight them almost to a standstill. Many Lyran civilians and countless Mechwarriors and soldiers owe their lives and freedom to the BNC-5S as a weapon system during the clan invasion. The most sophisticated BNC series in Battletech up until this point is the Dark Age variant, the BNC-12S. The Lyran Commonwealth would use its know-how of clan technology by this point to install a clan-specified XL engine, increasing its durability dramatically. It would also keep its Gauss rifle and ER PPCs, and add cases for its hazardous materials. It would upgrade its medium lasers to ER medium lasers, built to clan standards as well, and retain its heatsink configuration. The remaining saved weight would further be invested in armor, making it more durable for the new age of higher damage weapon systems. 100 years of successful designs are embodied in the 12S, making it one of the great assault mechs of its era, and making it one of the desperate, dwindling defenders of the Lyran state in its time of need, which now relies on designs such as this more than ever to keep the Empire alive in the days of the Il-Clan era. One of the oldest designs of battle mechs, the BNC series would experience a renaissance, and one of such magnitude that few remember its frankly pitiful origins. Starting off as a bizarre design which did nothing well to justify its existence, it turned into one of the most powerful assault mechs of the Fourth Succession War, rivaling the Atlas as one of the true monsters of the battlefield, a place it should have always occupied with its weight. It would then stand as a valiant defender of the Inner Sphere and House Steiner, against the technologically superior foe of the clans, and one of the best designs of its era to stand up and fight against these invaders. Now, it does so again in a new age of warfare. The Banshee's journey to relevance is more than a simple story of innovation and technological advancement. It is the story of a vehicle left to languish in the backlines of warfare and to be forgotten, and to be left as a casket for its pilots, evolving into a true war machine that saved the lives of millions of Lyran citizens and provided the best resistance possible to one of the gravest threats in the history of the Inner Sphere. If this mech were a character in and of itself, it would be the hero of this story. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. There's also a YouTube member program to support this channel as well, and I appreciate the support from members immensely. With that, I will catch all of you in the comment section below.